Hello there, welcome back. This, I believe, is the 8th episode. We're now almost done with Yoki Energies. Today, this part of the episode, we'll talk about the lights. Okay, and recently, Yoki has introduced some very nice lights. Okay, let's see. Oop, I think I just put them back. I didn't mean to do that. Alright, so these are the three Yoki lights that just recently came about. And they are called indicator lamps for that very reason. Because you can use them to, of course, indicate logical conditions, right? Where they're missing one. Missing a blue one. Oh, I must have not added to my list. Let's just get it out. So these lights will respond to logistic conditions. And I will just show you what they look like when they're working. So you need a chest like this or something in order to, oh, I put them too far from the thing. Let's put them closer. Yes. Move this bit back. Okay, so recently the factorial update to 1.2 or 12, 0.12, and they allowed you to have indication light wire conditionings on the lights itself. So we'll just add here a signal. It's called blue signal. Let's call this 10, just for no reason. Make sure that this is 10, and you can see the blue signal is greater than 0. The condition makes it green, so it turns on. If you don't connect the wire to the light, you will never get the little GUI that will open up. Okay, so you click on it, nothing happens. You have to connect it with the wire. Okay. So these actually do illuminate. So we'll switch to night to take a look. I keep forgetting that we are on solar panels. Solar panels don't work at night. Alright, Yuoki Industries to the rescue. I will slap down a few of these crystal accumulators so that we can have some backup power, just to show how these lights work, okay? Alright, so let's switch to night. Is it working? Oh, I know why it's not working, because I have a power hogger over there. Alright, I have a solution. I have a solution. I have a solution. Where did my substation go? There's the substation. Alright. We didn't talk about the substation yet, but we will soon. In fact, we'll talk about it in this episode. You can already see how it's working. Okay. I'm going to put the crystal accumulators here. That should be enough to get us energy to work these things. Alright, time to switch to light. There we go. That's what I wanted, right? You see that they actually do illuminate at night, as well as these crystal accumulators, right? They do light up whenever they discharge, just like the vanilla type. So these things actually light up. They have a nice little halo around them, and they only light up, of course, if the wire conditions are satisfied. Okay, so this is actually a good time to talk about Yoki's other lights. Yuoki introduced these other nice lights. So here I will put down a vanilla lamp. So that's the vanilla lamp. You have a tiny lamp. I'll just put on the edge here. You can see already that the tiny lamp has a much larger radius than the vanilla lamp. A power lamp, even larger radius, right? And of course, the largest radius of them all is, of course, the alien lamp, right? This thing lights up quite a sizable portion of your map, so you don't need too many of them. It's actually quite expensive too. In order to make some of these lamps, you require the previous lamp. So the tiny lamp is just one iron plate and a copper cable, which is, by the way, very cheap. And you can see it lights up, a bigger portion than just a vanilla lamp, right? So vanilla lamp requires electronic circuit. Look at this. This thing doesn't even require electronic circuit. So why would you ever make a vanilla lamp? You want this, okay? Of course, the difference is I don't think these have wires to them. So let's see. Actually, they do. Ah, see, look, even has a wire condition. Well, what do you know? There you go. It's cheaper and is wireful. The one that really stands out is this thing called Owner's Monument. Now, this thing, when you put it down, it just says you are the boss. Okay? It doesn't actually provide much lighting. So let me remove these. You will see what I mean. So the light around it is actually quite small. Okay? But what it does provide is when it lights up at night, I think it still does this, that it's supposed to reduce your pollution. So not only does it lights up your base, but it also reduces the pollution that you are making during the night. So maybe that's a good thing, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's a bad thing, I don't know. But it may be a good thing for you, right? Especially if you produce a lot of pollution day and night, right? The night reduces a bit of the pollution, so in the morning the pollution spend time to spread out to replenish the ones that were replaced. Anyways, it's actually quite expensive. It requires 6 Lachlan crystal, Durotol, steel plate, and orange stuff, right? So you know how to make the Durotol, you know how to make the steel plate, you know how to make the orange stuff. The only thing you don't know how to make is the Lachlan crystal. Okay, so Lachlan crystal is something that I have not talked about. So let's go back into the daylight. And let's talk about how to make Lachlan crystal, because those are the few remaining items that I did not talk about yet. Okay, so we need to go and take a look at Lachlan crystal as well as quantrinium. Both of those things are made in what's called the quantum composer, atomic quantum composer. Doesn't it sound like it's a building that can be used to make music? A quantum composer. It's a very futuristic building. So this building can make Lachlan crystal, and just take a look. Lachlan crystal requires pure iron, 40 slag, 8 unicomp, and the ancient alien data fragments. So this is the reason why you need to dig for dirt. There's no other way to get ancient alien data fragments, mind you. Okay. Now these crystal here. Okay. So that's it. You have to have some very simple material to make the Lachlan crystal. It's very expensive in time, right? 4 megawatts. You have to spend 30 seconds to make one. The other one it makes is the thing called the quantrinum. Okay, it's a rather bit of a tongue twisting, right? Quantrinum. This material has a very nice use in Yuoki engines. Okay, and it's expanded in a building called the quantrinum reactor. And what it does is it creates a mechanical force, which is a fluid. It's a very nice fluid that replaces water in order to carry energy. So this material is also quite expensive. It requires unicomp, charge FC, Durotol, as well as ancient alien data fragments. So in order to make these two high-end intermediates, you're gonna need to have quite a bit of dirt that need to be digged. Okay, so sooner or later you're gonna have to dig for dirt, and sooner or later you're gonna have to have lots and lots of these ancient alien data fragments flying around. There are other two formulas that I didn't mention. That is, of course, the accumulators, right? So this is a very nice segue into the accumulators. These two accumulators that you see here are very, very high-end accumulators. Okay, so we'll talk about them in order. Accumulators. Alright, so I will take the top ones out first. Let's talk about them. Of course, I will put them down in the modified substation. So Yuoki's modified substation is very large, much larger than the vanilla counterpart. Okay, so let's just put down a substation from the vanilla counterpart. You see? Look at that. Much larger, right? How much larger? Well, I guess you can count the squares. I never counted it, but approximately 20 by 20 it seems. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. What do you know? I counted right, 20. And this guy I'm guessing is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this is 14. So this guy is a 14 by 14. This guy is 20 by 20. So much larger. Okay, almost 3/4 larger. All right. What I'm about to place down are special accumulators. Why are they special? They're special because at least not the first one, but let's talk about the first one. The first one is small in footprint. It's only 1 by 1, and yet it stores 3 megajoules. Okay, so although it has half the charge and discharge of a normal accumulator, it has a very high energy density. Right? So in the same footprint as a vanilla accumulator, this thing stores more charge. So 3.5 times 4. So in the same footprint, it will store 14 megawatts. And because it charge at 150 times 4 is 600. So it will charge more than the vanilla capacitor. But it's just you need to build 4 of them. Okay. The middle cousin, the MCD accumulator. By the way, you notice that some of these accumulators requires lacton crystal, right? So in order to build some of these advanced accumulators, you will need the quantum composer, okay? As well as some of these other very expensive things like the chips, right? All right, so this one is the MCD accumulator. I need to point to the right one. So the MCD accumulators. So this one here this is where it starts to get special. You can notice that it has a higher input than output. Okay. So what this means is that you can use this to gate some of your network, part of your network. You want to restrict how much power can go out to that particular network, then you can use this kind of accumulator. Okay. So it follows for the next one, the bigger one, the BCD accumulator. Follows the same pattern. It has a much higher input than output, 70 megajoules. Input of 1.4 and output of 950. Okay. The final one, the AQE accumulator. This one has 180 megajoules input capacity. Input of 1.8 and output of 900. Okay. So this guy here is a bit less output than this bottom one here, the BCD, but it has a benefit of having a higher density, right? And of course the one I didn't show you yet is called the UPS flywheel. This guy is very special. This guy has a very, very slow charge, but very fast discharge. So, what could you use for this? Well, I'm thinking that you could use it for infuser, for example, or you could use it for defending a section of your walls that have, that has lasers on it, and they rarely go off. When they go off, they require a lot of energy, right? But they rarely go off, so it gives time for the accumulator to charge. Alright, so these other accumulators are more traditional in a sense, in that their charge and their input and output are the same. Okay, so the first one, of course, is still a 1x1. Right? This guy is made with batteries. They are less expensive. They are not as high end. You will likely make these first before you make these. Okay, the thing with the D in them, anything with the D in them, like you see here, SCD, MCD, BCD. Well, S means small, M means medium, B means big. Okay, I don't know what A is. I don't know what AQE means, but that's the pattern. Anyways, these sort of things requires lactulin crystals. These sort of things requires battery. Okay. There we go. So, in terms of footprint, the small one only takes up 1 block, right? And it already you can see that it stores a lot of energy. So 4 of them occupying the same footprint as a basic accumulator would store 20 megajoules, right? One of them already stored as equivalent to a basic accumulator. Of course, it discharges a bit less, right? Because the other one is 300 kilowatt. So you're gonna have to make a lot of these guys in order to compensate for the rate of discharge. The medium one, it has the same discharge rate and input rate as the basic, but has 4 times the density, right? Would you make this? Of course, I would make this. So this is a good replacement for the basic accumulator, because in the same space you get 20 megajoules of storage, and you discharge at the same as a basic accumulator. So this is a nice replacement. But it's more expensive than a basic accumulator, as you can see, right? It requires not only electronic circuit, but also a block of battery cell, and 4 times that, right? Because you need 4 of the small ones. And the block battery cell requires some other materials. So this is the reason why you make these cells. Not only just to burn them, but also to make the accumulator. The bigger version of this guy requires the medium in order to be made. So this is the bigger version. The bigger version requires advanced circuits as well as 2 of the medium ones, right? And already you see that the inputs and output maximum for the big one is a bit different. So it follows the kind of input and output for the UPS, right? So the UPS guy is similar to this one. Okay. You input 450, but you output 900, which means you would deplete this guy fast. So if you make these, you need to be aware that of the input and output. And the crystal version, which by the way, recently Yuoki has disabled it, at least in the recent version, because he's reworking on their balancing. But I unlocked the recipe in order to show you that they exist, because it's likely that he'll unlock the recipe once he finishes balancing it. But this guy is a round, all good rounder. It has a very high energy density in just a footprint the same size as a basic accumulator, and a maximum input and output of 1.5 megawatt. Okay, and you can store 400 megajoules, which is quite a bit of energy. And that's it. It wraps up basically all of the stuff from the Yuoki Energies. These are all the buildings except for one more thing. Forgot about the speed modules. Okay, so Yuokis provide their own modules. Now, why do these modules matter to you? Because they're cheap. Okay, People say that they're not really on par with, say, the vanilla modules. Well, actually, not really. I mean, if you look at it, right, the speed modules, like 20% plus 50 energy consumption. Well, this guy is a little more energy consumption, but a little more speed as well, right? And look at it; it's quite cheap. Okay, much cheaper than the speed modules from vanilla counterpart. Same thing with the higher tier, the Y speed module 2, right? It's also quite cheaper than the tier 2 speed modules. Right? Speed is even higher. Right? Of course, the energy consumption is a little higher, well, of course. But in terms of speed modules, I would prefer the Yuoki speed modules because it's much cheaper. What about the productivity modules? Well, that's debatable. Okay. Um, yeah, actually, I prefer the nice modules from Yoki's 2 now that I look at it. I think he may have updated these numbers. Productivity plus 4, productivity plus 5, pollution plus 10. Yeah, so this actually produces less pollution. So if you care about attracting your neighbors, or if you don't care about it, then don't use it. But I tend to care about not attracting enemies, right? Biters coming to ruin your day. So yeah, it also uses less energy consumption. So I would use the first level pink modules. They were quite nice. Efficiency modules, I'm not sure I care for it. So efficiency modules, in my use, I tend to favor efficiency modules. The fewer, the better. Okay, because sometimes I want to put in the speed modules, and if I had filled up all the slots for efficiency modules, um, well, in order to get to the target, decrease in power rating, then of course I want a higher effective efficiency modules, and his is a little lower than the first guy. So, but it will do. I mean, it is quite cheap. I mean, so that basically covers his modules. Make them. It will save you resources. Um, that's it. I will have one more episode. In the next episode, it's really actually a bonus episode. I will talk about how to put all these stuff together to do your first Unicom cycle. Okay. I will see you soon.